Welcome to the Big Fellas Podcast, where we chop it up about all things past, present, and future about the game of basketball. Where facts, stats, and context reign supreme.
That is blasphemous!
Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. Get ready to learn from players, coaches, and fans from all levels of the game and see the court in a brand new way. And now, fresh off the sidelines, here's your host, John Hartofilis.
What it do, fellas, and welcome to the Big Fellas Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, JH, coming to you from New York City, the mecca of basketball. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Jovan Booker. Jovan grew up in Mattituck, Long Island, and we met each other playing pickup over the summer. I never noticed anything different about him, other than that he was a really good ball player. After a few games, I realized that Jovan was actually dominating with an amputated leg. In this episode, we had a lot of fun talking about how Jovan has truly defied the odds, using basketball as a vehicle to express his love for the game all over the world. We've got a good one in store for you today, fellas. Episode number 24, Jovan Booker, Nothing's Limpossible. Just as a disclaimer, this episode was recorded over continental lines, and there are some parts that are a bit choppy. JH did some editing magic, so don't worry, and get ready to be inspired. What up, Jovan?
What's going on, John? My man, how are things over there?
Things are good. I'm really excited for this. So yeah, for those that don't know how we met, Jovan and I were playing pickup basketball out on the North Fork of Long Island at Southold High School. It was a lot of fun. And the funny thing is that I had no idea that Jovan was an amputee until you told me. I was on your team once and you mentioned it. I was like, what? I'm like, this guy's been killing everyone all day. This is crazy.
No problem, man. It's a pleasure to be here. It's amazing sometimes what basketball can do, how it can bring people together. I still remember the first day we met and the first time we hooped. And it's just a blessing to be here. It's a beautiful platform that you've created, and let people kind of know what I'm up to these days, as well as kind of the different initiatives that I've been able to be involved in. So I'm just happy to be here, man. And it's a blessing. It's a blessing for sure.
Awesome. So just to start, can you kind of walk our listeners through just your basketball journey, just from, you picked up a basketball, and kind of just walk us through what that's been like for you?
Yeah, definitely. So basically I started playing basketball when I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. I couldn't actually really dribble a ball, but I remember going to the park and watching my dad play. He was kind of somebody I always just looked up to. He was my hero. So seeing him play and kind of take part in sports growing up was kind of my inspiration. And I actually was not always a basketball player. Soccer was my first sport. I played soccer when I was 14, from when I was 5 years old till about 14. And then basketball I took serious when I turned about 13, 14. And I always really just enjoyed playing with my friends. I graduated from Mattituck High School, and we were actually Long Island champions in 2011. So I had been playing with a lot of the people that I grew up playing with, all the way from Sacred Heart CYO level all the way up into varsity. It's a blessing for me to be able to play basketball. It's always kind of been something that has brought me a lot of places. When I was 17, I was able to meet my first amputee basketball players when Amp 1 came to my school. So basketball has just kind of been a blessing in my life. It's been a way that I've been able to express myself, not only obviously as an amputee, but it's just kind of something where anytime I can find a basketball court anywhere, even obviously all the way over here in Tel Aviv, it's kind of my safe place, you know what I'm saying? And it's something where I can kind of get away and I can lock into, always obviously trying to get better, but even just to kind of shoot the ball around or find other people to play with, it's just always been a love for me. It's been kind of my biggest passion. So yeah, that's a little bit how I started. And I never really was able to play basketball collegiately. Instead, I traveled kind of advocating for the game in a way where I felt I was best at. I was able to not only use basketball as a tool to share my story, but also to kind of inspire others and build a community in a village where it's accepted and it's kind of whatever normal is these days to people that even though obviously some people come into this world with adverse circumstances, you still can kind of make your dreams come true. That's a little bit about what basketball and where basketball has been in my life. And it just always was my dad, for sure. He was somebody that I always looked up to and wanted to kind of follow in his footsteps. And then when I had the opportunity to kind of do things that were more than just a game of basketball, that's kind of what fired me up and really made me realize, what my true purpose was.
No, that's awesome, and you're definitely fulfilling that purpose, just being an inspiration to so many different people every single day. I can only imagine what it's like when people hear your story and how that kind of motivates them. Can you kind of give our listeners, for those who don't know, kind of the background on what your amputation is and how that gone through life with that?
For sure. So I lost my leg at 10 months old. I was born with fibula hemimelia, which is a birth defect usually that involves you missing parts of your fibula or tibia, and I was also born with 3 toes. So being the case, I would have either grown up in a wheelchair, I would have had to use crutches, or would have been really not real ambulatory at all. So at that time, my father had decided that it would be best for me to have my leg amputated. So I've had a prosthetic leg since I was essentially like 1 year old. And it's been kind of something that I've grown with. It definitely wasn't something that happened traumatically, like a recent part of my life, which is obviously a lot more difficult when you have something and then it's taken away from you. For me, it was just something that I had to grow and learn with, and it's still like a learning process every day. But it's something that was necessary at the time, and looking back, obviously in retrospect, it was the best decision that could have ever been made, because not only is it something that obviously physically could have held me back, but I think mentally it's something that, being obviously somebody who grows up with it, it's like you go through a lot of tough times, being somebody who obviously has physical differences that people see but not even sometimes don't see. But it's obviously different to some people, and it's hard for people to really truly understand what it's like to kind of grow up, obviously missing anything, missing your leg, your arm, anything. So I think being able to obviously see it as more of a blessing now, it's truly something that I would never really change for the world, and it's hard for obviously a lot of people to imagine that, but for a lot of amputees, especially ones that are like highly active and highly athletic, I just try to see it as a blessing and see it as something that's been able to give me opportunity. It's given me not only opportunity for myself, but giving me opportunity to impact others that share the same path or share the same circumstances or even worse circumstances.
That's a beautiful way to put it, and seeing it as a blessing and a way for you to connect with other people and kind of spread that positive message. What was it kind of like then for you when you were a senior in high school, kind of seeing Amp1 come to Mattituck, that just shock of seeing them all out there and playing and giving you and kind of doing for you what you've been doing for so many people since then?
Yeah, it was really truly an amazing time in my life and a turning point for my life. Being able to see other amputees and also being able to feel like I was finally with people that could relate to me, just my own well-being. It was everything that I could have ever imagined. I always thought I was kind of like alone in a sense, where being an amputee and feeling like I can do a kind of anything else anybody else can do, and not wanting to really kind of take sympathy from others, but at the same time understanding why others truly might not understand. So being able to have that kind of brotherhood and that kind of family type environment for me to be kind of welcomed to and mentored through, and allowing me to have kind of these role models, almost like superheroes that I never really thought existed. And then to see it right in front of me and be able to connect with these guys, and then for them to grant me the opportunity when I was 17 to travel the world with them is something that I'm eternally grateful for. Especially guys like Scott Odom, who's someone who founded Amp1 originally, and guys like Roger Green, who was a big brother to me through times where I knew really nothing about myself as far as being somebody that can kind of take what I've been given and be able to give it back to other people selflessly, and what that service can do to impact the rest of the people around me on a regular basis. And then obviously taking part in traveling to schools all over the country and sharing my story at a time where I wasn't really comfortable was something that was making me step out of the box as well, and step out of my comfort zone, and creating just an immense amount of growth, as well as the amount of love that I was able to not only feel from people all around the world, but the people that I was kind of felt like I was saving the world with was really an honor. And it's something that I feel like it really fuels me to be able to do that for somebody else, especially somebody that I feel like me growing up wouldn't have thought ever existed. And then obviously we've been able to do some amazing things as far as traveling, and then as well as being able to kind of set a forefront for adaptive sports. That's been something that is just kind of unprecedented. Like I never thought in my wildest dreams that I would be somebody that's able to not only be an advocate for being an amputee, but be able to create a platform where other amputees growing up and athletes growing up with adverse circumstances can have not only the courage, but have an opportunity to compete, and compete at a high level and play for something. So yeah, AMP1 has been an amazing opportunity for me, and it's been something that I'll never ever be able to forget in my life. Nonetheless, would I trade the opportunity to be with them, which was also a defining moment as far as looking back on it in retrospect. Like when I was just an amputee playing basketball with all my friends that were able bodies, it was never something that I really realized. I just did it. But being able to kind of now be in a position where I notice when there's, there's people watching you and people looking up to you. And then not only do you have an opportunity to put on like a show for them in a way where it's like, oh, like we're really playing basketball, we also have the opportunity to now let kids and their parents connect in a way where they can see that they're just as normal as anybody else, and that it's things that when things go that way, the end product and what the end result looks like. And we're just trying to build a village, in a sense, like a community of people that can come and really be able to be accepted and not judged by the things that they're lacking or the things that they're going without, but be judged by the things that they're capable of doing and the people that they can inspire by doing it. So we've been blessed in a way where it has been definitely a marathon and not a sprint. I'm sure you're familiar, you know what I'm saying? But at this point now where we're able to work with NBA teams and we're able to go and put on clinics across the country where we can put able bodies, put adaptive athletes and adaptive stand-up basketball players in one gym, along with us and then their parents, and allow that environment to kind of teach everybody in the room what the world can look like in the future, with this next generation.
Oh my God, that is just so awesome. I mean, everything you're doing is just really cool. Just for some of our listeners that kind of don't understand the difference between stand-up and wheelchair basketball, can you kind of just go into kind of both that difference and what you guys do playing wise, but also as you touched on some of those clinics and kind of just where you've been able to travel around the world with basketball and all those cool experiences?
Definitely. So we play stand-up amputee basketball, which is basically basketball without a wheelchair. We play just as able-bodied or people with two legs would. And most of our competition-based stuff, we do 3-on-3 tournaments usually. We play in the LA Nike 3-on-3 tournament every year. That's for like our own competition and for us to continue to kind of set a precedent to show that we can obviously play with able bodies. But our main goal right now is being able to facilitate camps and clinics all over the country, working with NBA D-League teams to be able to, like I said, create an environment where adaptive athletes and stand-up amputee basketball players can come, and professional basketball players and organizations can all be in the same room with people that obviously are, given adverse circumstances, and they can play and compete just as well as anybody else can. So being able to create that environment in that village, that is going to be just something that I feel like it has been a long time coming. I mean, we as obviously adaptive athletes, we've come a long way, like especially being able to see what like the Paralympics are like. It's nationally televised. Being able to see a lot of amputees at the ESPY Awards and competing in competitions and different sports all over the world. I think that now more than ever, it's kind of a time where adaptive athletes, we like to say instead of disabled athletes, are really at the forefront of sports and the forefront of being able to provide inspiration to the next generation. I mean, you think about obviously all the role models that you have in your life, but at the same time, sometimes they don't come in the perfect package either. You know, there's people out there that are providing inspiration and impacting a whole nother generation of different type of athletes that still may not really be able to or have the opportunity or the resources to be able to share not only their stories, but share how they're trying to make an impact in the world in their own communities. And I think that's just the most important thing for us right now as an organization. We just want to make sure that we can provide something for the next generation, the next me's, the next, Richard Ramsey's, the next Nick Pryors, and the next Scott Odoms, the list goes on. I think it's just something that we are blessed to be able to make sure we can carry it on.
That's awesome. And you touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but I just want to stress, guys, if you're listening, whoever's listening to this, Jovan can hoop, man. I'm telling you, that's why I had no idea about the prosthetic. We're going runs with all these able bodies, and there's really absolutely zero difference. If anything, you were one of the best guys there, like 100%. So we're running,
Appreciate
and I'm thinking to myself,
brother.
of course, dude. I'm thinking to myself, oh, this guy's nice. I'm not thinking to myself, I'm not looking down. I'm not thinking, oh, this guy's the steps. Like, no, you were killing guys. So that's why, when you're saying that, you guys going out and showing you guys can play with able bodies, it's maybe a lot of times even more than that you can play with them.
And as far as that goes too, like we're heavily determined to make sure that stand-up amputee basketball or some form of stand-up basketball is in the Paralympics. That's been a long-term goal for us, and it's obviously a lot of logistics behind it as far as having amputees in other countries, and also having the organization of these teams and being able to facilitate that organization throughout the 15 to 30 to 40 other countries. But that is the ultimate goal. Like, it's not like it's just for us, like, as much as we do love competing and I love playing the sport of basketball, like it's about being able to have something to play for 10, 15, 20 years from now, maybe when I can't even play in the Paralympics, but I want to be able to push hard and use, like, it's like even more than a game, I have the passion, like I'm passionate about playing. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that have that same passion that might not have the opportunity to play at a college D1 or play in the NBA. But if there's an opportunity where they can go and they can compete for their country and playing standing up, as much as, to be honest, I think wheelchair basketball is way harder than stand-up amputee basketball. I think it takes a different type of skill set. And I don't know if you've ever been able to sit in a wheelchair and try and play, but it is very difficult. Those guys make it look very easy. But I think at the same time, as much love as I have for them, I think that there's also a type of niche for what we do too. And I think that there's a big opportunity to allow other people to have that option, up and walk and be extremely active, who can sit down in a wheelchair and still play wheelchair basketball. I think that there should be an option for somebody who, even if they can sit down, they could fight to want to stand up. And I think that that's something that is also important. And beyond obviously wanting to, play the sport of basketball, I think there's a message there to be sent to people as well, that there is an option, that it's not like you have to always sit down, that you are able to stand up. And that's something that we also take pride in well. So I just wanted to piggyback on that, just to kind of give the people an idea of what kind of initiatives that we're taking moving towards the future. And then obviously a lot of that passion comes from me having the opportunity to play soccer, kind of at a national level. So being also able to bring kind of the, passion, camaraderie, and the organization from that and bring that over into the basketball realm is something that it also ties into why I'm here in Tel Aviv as well. Being able to coach kids and being able to impact them, not only obviously in my own backyard and where where we grew up, but also be able to kind of go abroad and not only obviously spread adaptive sports, but just spread the love of sport all over the world, which is just a blessing. It's just an extreme blessing.
I love that, and just that idea of spreading basketball around the world is just so key, and so it's so interesting too to think about, because nothing's more exciting than watching a sport grow and develop, right? And basketball's obviously exploded over the last 30 to 40, right? And now there's I mean, you think, okay, we've reached this pinnacle, the NBA is at this level, it's so popular, but now there's this whole other like little niche of amputee basketball that now is just getting started, and where you guys can go from here is, I mean, who knows where you guys are going to take it. So that's awesome. And we haven't touched on this yet, but working as a field development intern for PeacePlayers in Tel Aviv, and I mean, that's just super cool that you have this internship overseas, and I mean, I really want to hear about it. So if you could just tell us kind of a little rundown about what you're doing over there.
Yes. So I actually, I have my PeacePlayers shirt on right now. We can, just so we can make sure I've got everything, everything taken care of. But anyways, we take pride here at PeacePlayers in uniting, educating, and inspiring the youth, and especially those that come from underprivileged and basically diverse communities that are both Israeli and Palestinian, or Jews and Arabs, which has been kind of like a lifelong conflict between the two different cultures. So at PeacePlayers, the whole entire goal is to bring these young women between the ages of 8 and 15 together into the same gym, and allow them to not only obviously interact, but play organized basketball with people that they may have probably never met in their life, or would have probably had a preconceived idea of what people like them are like, whether it be from the Jewish side or the Arab side. So it's just been it's been a lot of learning so far. It's only been about my fourth day, so I'm still picking up kind of what's going on with everything, but I'm just excited to kind of be here. It's an opportunity that I never would imagine I would have, to be able to obviously work with young athletes, but in a way where not only am I kind of giving back to the youth, but I'm also able to give back to a country that I've been blessed to be able to not only visit, but now I'm blessed to live in for 5 months. So I'm truly grateful, and I'm looking forward to being able to obviously get out and work in the communities. It's been a little bit difficult, being obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic, and things kind of uncertain as far as how things will look in the future, whether it will be kind of adapted to virtual or whether it will be in person. But either way, it's been an exciting experience to be here and learn so much, and have the opportunity not only to just to live in Tel Aviv, but to also be part of such a special organization. And it's really kind of like it's a full circle kind of thing, being also that we're coming from a small town, that there's a lot of racial injustice going on back home, especially in the States. So, and everywhere over the world, but it's just a very interesting thing that we're going through in these times. And it just feels amazing to be able to kind of not only be part of kind of the solution, but also being able to do it from kind of a different area where, this is like a once in a lifetime opportunity, to where it's like I come back from this with a whole new kind of mindset of what it's like to be in kind of an uncomfortable environment, because I think that's what we all are in, with combat these different social inequalities and a lot of things that are going on that I normally wouldn't be able to have my hands in, but I do. And it's just kind of a blessing to be able to do that and do it from such a level where I know it's something I'll wake up and not feel like it's work. Especially, obviously, I have such a love for basketball, a love for sports, and a love for being able to kind of work with kids and coach them, whether it's on a basketball level or it's just kind of speaking to them and having a conversation with them about just what's going on in their lives. I mean, I think that's obviously, you being a coach as well, It's just something important that I feel like as role models, mentors, whatever, coaches, whatever position we're in, I think it's like our duty and our obligation, our responsibility to kind of not only show these kids that they're able to achieve, but empower them, encourage them, and listen. You know, a lot of people want to be there or don't want to be there, but when you want to be there, it kind of comes easy. Kids have a different level of respect for you. It's almost like you're not just their coach, like you're somebody that's part of their family and you're somebody that they trust, somebody that they look up to. It's a unique opportunity as well in that sense. But it's also going to have a lot of hurdles as well. One of them being I don't speak that much Hebrew, but I'm learning. It'll be a very interesting thing, especially where I come from in a small town where there's a very mixed kind of mixed group as far as, you know, what different religions. Like I grew up Baptist, my grandma raised me Baptist, and to kind of be in Israel where obviously predominantly everyone is Jewish, it's an interesting kind of position for me as well to kind of be in the midst of that and kind of have a unique perspective working with these different kids from kind of all over.
Obviously, not only are you traveling the world, but you're also spreading your influence and your message everywhere. I know you're a motivational speaker for Limpossible, but I mean, what's it kind of like knowing that? Because obviously, as a coach, you know, I have my team, I have my 15 guys, and I'm building this relationship with them over the course of several months or years. What's kind of like knowing that you're speaking to these groups and people are walking away that you might not talk to again, but they're walking away with your message and remembering it, and that's what's keeping them going. What's that like?
I mean, it's amazing. It's truly a blessing. I really honestly don't know where I would be without faith. I mean, it's just such an opportunity to be able to work with kids and alone. I mean, it's between whether it be on a speaking setting, like at schools, or whether it be on the court as a coach. It's just a blessing in itself. I mean, so was someone growing up where, like I told you before, like my father was my coach, my dad was my coach, and he was somebody that always kind of pushed me to the next level. But the main reason why he pushed me was because he believed that I could do it. So being able to kind of take that mentality and bring it into a gym or any kind of setting that I'm in, whether I'm speaking at a school or I'm speaking in a large, to a large audience, to whether I'm, doing a podcast, to whether I'm doing any other type of speaking engagement, or whether I'm speaking on the court or communicating with my teammates or communicating with the kids that I'm coaching. Like, it's just, I think it's all comes from those original kind of times I spent with him, and him kind of being able to instill confidence in me. And as long as someone's there that is willing to kind of be a voice that's not going to kind of like shut you down, like I think that's what I always looked for growing up. And I think I just try to display that whenever I'm speaking, whenever I'm coaching. It's just something that just comes natural. It's not like I have to really like write something down or think about it. I just know that that's kind of like what I would want somebody to do for me if I was in the same situation, and I think that's like all of like, that's what everyone's kind of has to hold themselves accountable for too, is it's like we grow and we learn so much, and we're able to kind of like internalize it and sometimes master it. And sometimes like that true mastery of something doesn't really come by just keeping it all in your head. Like, you have to actually spread it and like pass it forward to somebody that can use it next. So I think that's like something that's always come natural to me. I mean, I was a shy person growing up. I didn't really like to speak. But when I had the opportunity to travel and share my story, hear other people's story from sharing my story, like it wouldn't have happened if I didn't open up and share like my different kind of emotions and thoughts with other people, then I would have never been able to be humbled with sometimes their testimony or what their story has been like. I mean, I grew up with my grandma always telling me, don't take your life for granted. Like, there's other people out there that have worse situations than you. And sometimes when, like, I don't know, when people come up to us, especially with wisdom, when we're young, we don't sometimes let it goes over our head, or it doesn't really sink in. And then when it was able to happen to me at a young age, where all those things that kind of she told me were like, I was like, oh, well, she was right. Like, this was something, it was like kind of like I don't know, like an aha moment. Like, it's like, wow, like there really is people out here that no matter what your circumstance are, like they're struggling to just kind of keep hope or to want to to want to push themselves to go, if they're walking, to push themselves to run. Like, it's like there's always something that you can be thankful for. And I think that that's something that I just kind of was instilled in me in a young age. And now being able to kind of see it all unfold, before my eyes has been like just a defining experience for me. And I think speaking and jumping out of my comfort zone was really something that allowed me to do that. And through working with Limpossible, through working with AMP1 basketball, through playing US amputee soccer and advocating for that sport as well, and then also advocating for myself, and to kind of just be somebody that can be a role model for a kid who might think that their situation is really not good. And it might not be an amputee always, which is kind of what I've grown to realize throughout the years. I mean, there's kids that are going through emotional issues at home, struggling to, cope with losing a family member, which is something I had to do at a very young age, at 14. A lot of those different things, it really ends up being like a full circle type of like relationship, where you can share things with other people and they can learn and grow from it, and then vice versa, you can learn and grow from their ability to kind of hear your story and be inspired by it. So that's a lot of what the speaking that I've done has done for me, and obviously I've been doing it now for almost like 9 years. So I feel like I've put a lot of effort and time, and even sometimes my own expenses into it. And I think that I did that selflessly. So it's something that I always am thankful for when I'm able to do it, and do it at any level, because it's like, it's not only gratifying, but it's also something I feel like that continues to light that fire inside you when you're able to see other people on your own individual level. Like, it doesn't take $1 million. It doesn't take you to have a full team of staff. It doesn't take you to have professional videographers or all the things that people kind of like imagine foreseeing as obstacles. Like, it doesn't take that. It just kind of takes you to kind of have conviction. And something that I always talk about is just recognizing your gift. Like, everybody has a gift. Like, when you're brought into this world, like, you have something that made you different, was put inside, give you purpose. Time to figure it out, but that you figure it out, it's kind of like something that I don't know, it's like a feeling of like you have like somebody inside of you, like a better version of yourself, and when you let them out, then it's like you really truly understand what your purpose is and what the person that you were supposed to be kind of looks like. And then me being able to realize what my gift is I just continue to kind of chase that person, and chase what that feeling was, because I think really what that feeling is true joy. And I think that for me, I found joy in being able to do something that I love, that has kind of turned into a career for me. And now having the opportunity to full circle be able to gain valuable experience, and then move into an area where I can kind of create something of my own, and be able to not only obviously use my story to inspire others, but to be able to kind of inspire myself to the next level as well. You have to be able to constantly want to see a better version of you. And I think unlocking that gift and unlocking the true potential of you, knowing, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm passionate about. There's people that need me. I think those are things that kind of just wake you up out of bed in the morning. Like, I watch a lot of Eric Thomas motivational videos, and it's like, if it doesn't wake you up and get you out of bed at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m., then, it's probably not what's for you. But if it does, and you wake up, feeling possessed, like, it's just, everything is a blessing, man. And I'm just extremely thankful. And like I said, because something I think that has been able to keep me going at times. I mean, it's like, if you don't really have something to believe in other than just yourself or other people, like, you have to have a higher purpose and believe that somewhere, somebody, is praying for you, or you have a large group, a village, a community that's praying for you. So you just always kind of just have to keep going. And I've failed multiple times, got back up. And I think that that's something that people need to realize too, is that be vulnerable, like, and have dreams and goals and aspirations that kind of exceed what your level of thinking is sometimes, when you think that they're just like, unattainable things, well, they'll be unattainable. But the moment you start to kind of switch your perspective and put a positive spin on things and see yourself kind of in those opportunities, I think a lot of it happens for you. So that's definitely getting out of my comfort zone and speaking was something I think that it changed my life. And I'm just happy that I was given the opportunity with, like I said, organizations like AMP1, at an early age with Scott Odom, and then being able to kind of travel the country and the world with my best friends when I was with AMP1, and being able to take relationships like I have with Robert Rodriguez, and being able to help build Limpossible and allow them to be able to another platform to where athletes can use sport to spread inspiration. And it's all just kind of been like a full circle like experience to where now really kind of about now stepping out of the box again, being here in Tel Aviv by myself, kind of, not obviously with AMP1 or with the people that have been kind of around me for the last, 6-7 years, but kind of like, by myself doing something that I feel like is important for me. And I don't think I would really be here if it wasn't for every experience that I kind of had leading up to it,
Of course. I mean, wow, that was just so beautiful in terms of that whole description of your passion and the focus you kind of have in going after this goal of spreading this message. So
it's a long answer that question, but
no, you definitely got the point across though. So that's good. Just the last thing I'm going to ask before we wrap up. I read how you have a Dan Frisbee post in your room that says basketball is like photography. If you don't focus, all you have is a negative. So that's a really great line. And I just want to know kind of what that means for you, kind of waking up and seeing that every morning and knowing that that's kind of the focus you have to take into your day to day.
For sure, man. I have 3 posters actually in my room, and that's on one of the posters. It's a poster of Jordan, and it's got a bunch of the quotes from his career, and then a bunch of other famous, obviously, legendary basketball players on there too. And that quote has just always been about focus. Like it says it in the quote itself, if you're not waking up every day with kind of your goals written down, or you have this sense of purpose, or you have your visions kind of locked in and the things that you want in life, then it's kind of like you flounder on a regular basis. And I can say that by experience. But then the second poster that I have is a poster of Muhammad Ali, who's also a huge role model for me. And it's the one where he's hitting the bag and it says, I hated every day of training, but I said, suffer now and live the rest of my life a champion. And I think that a culmination between that one and then the Steph Curry poster I have is just greatness is surrounding me. Like, and whether it's, athletes, or whether it's, someone like Martin Luther King, who was a great leader, or someone like, even my brothers, my teammates, people that I look up to on a regular, whether it be mentors in my life that have helped me and guided me and kind of showed me different ways to navigate life. Even obviously, like I said, after losing my father, like it was so tough to not have like a strong, like male role model in your life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially one that being like your father. So having people that have kind of stepped into similar roles like that, or big brother roles that have kind of always mentored me and pushed me through. I think all of those things combined have really helped me just not only grow as an athlete or even as a person, but just grow as somebody who can be like, is a leader. And I think that a lot of those people take pride in the leadership that they were able to lead over the course of their lives and their careers. And I think when I think of them, I think of having that sense of accountability to where it's like, not backing down or not backing out and saying like, oh, like I just, like I don't want to be a role model. Like sometimes it's not really about the choice. It's about the life that you've been given. And if you're going to live it, you might as well live it with purpose. And it will be more fulfilling, not only for you, but like I spoke with you before, being able to take a lot of the things you learn from experience and from the knowledge you gain, and being able to pass it forward to the next generation and allow them to actually use it and put it into and apply it in their lives. And not only obviously are you helping them, but you're mastering things as well. You're continuing to master. If you can teach somebody, and you can have people that can go after you and hold those values and kind of cement your legacy in a sense. I think that's truly what what finding your purpose is in any instance.
That was great. And I mean, Jovan, thank you so much for coming on. I mean, I really love their conversation. And I think not only will our listeners learn a lot about you from this, but they're going to be inspired by you from this. And that's what's really most important. So I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on.
I'm so thankful for you, bro. I would love to do it anytime. And I can't wait till we can get back and we can hoop.
Thanks for listening to the Big Fellas Podcast. Check us out on all major social media platforms at Big Fellas Pod to join the chop up. You can also listen to us on every podcast platform on the planet. Stay tuned for the next episode, Big Fellas.